Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone? I wanted to share some information with you all regarding parenthood and raising children. Now, this was a paper that I wrote back in 2021, and when I was pursuing, my bachelor's degree. And so I want to share this because there have been a lot of people asking for, information on how they can be a better parent, how they can, succeed in raising their children, and just having some tools that they may not be privy to, or even know of these tools that can actually literally help them in being better parents and having successful relationships with their children and being able to, parent them in a more wholesome manner. And so I wanted to share this information with you all. And so, parenthood and raising children. Now, here, parenting can be, really a wonderful, fulfilling role that brings pride, it brings joy and happiness in the lives of parents. And it can be dramatic and sudden changes to couples' life as well. Now, however, many parents are waiting until they are older, have acquired a secondary education, more mature and financially stable before deciding to have children. Now, we know that that has not happened in every, lifestyle where children are born, but we do see that more often where women are deciding to delay childbirth, before having children because they want to go back to school, pursue a secondary education. They want to be financially stable, and they want to be married or have a compatible spouse that can agree on, most things of raising children. But in this postmodern society, deciding whether to parent children or remain childless is a very important decision, and it deserves a great deal of consideration in thought and spirit. And so this information that I provide to you, again, this is research that I did, but it will discuss the factors, the trends, the advantages, and challenges of parenting and raising children. And there is a lot that goes into parenting, a relationship, communication, building relationships and being able to sustain those relationships. How motivated are you as a parent to do good or to do poorly when it comes to raising children? Are you willing to self-improve yourself, seeking some boundaries or being insightful when it comes down to, different aspects and dynamics of the relationship, even just being grateful, and analyzing things, making changes, looking at current changes, and it starts within ourselves. But there is the framework that needs to be done and acknowledging the good and the bad and what you can do to change it. Important key things in relationships, how to reach children, sharing things, how to control emotions, and some eye-opening experiences that we all have had as raising children. If we are someone that has been able to parent children, and things like that, establishing boundaries or establishing things that are going to work for the good. So as we get into this, this information that I'm going to share with you, there's also factors to consider when deciding to raise children. Well, opportunity cost. Parents must give up things in order to have children. And then there is the planned or unplanned pregnancy, unintended birth, or was the birth or the pregnancy planned? And then what about health medical insurance, coverage for pregnancy and delivery, and out-of-pocket costs? Because there is going to be, an out-of-pocket cost to most deliveries if you have a private or personal insurance or employer-sponsored health insurance. And then there is child care costs involved once that child is born, unless you choose to be a stay-at-home mother or a stay-at-home father. Or, there's going to be cost involved unless you have access and you're privileged to have a close family member that you can trust that has a good track record of, raising children. Then, you may be privileged and blessed to have someone like that in the child's life. But also there's time involved, less time to spend with self and partner. And that's important to know before you choose to have children, that you will have to give up some of your me time. You're going to have less time to spend with yourself and with your partner. And both of you have to be able to understand that and be unselfish when it comes to raising children or considering having children. You have to be able to balance your, work life, self-care life, family life, and even friends, relationships outside of the immediate family. So there's work, life, and balance that has to take place as well. And then there is the either co-parenting or single parenting. Single parenthood or co-parenting. So will you be a single parent choosing to have a child and not have any help or support? Is that by choice, or is that because things just didn't work out in the relationship? Or there is the co-parenting, where both people have to come together to agree on how to raise the child for the best, decisions made for that child. Not about, well, I want this or I want that, but you're going to have to come together as both parents in a responsible, mature manner to be able to raise that child for what is good and best for the child. And there's got to be a cohesiveness in the relationship and attitude of the father or mother or both coming together to be able to raise that child in the best way possible. And then there is, the ideal of if the father is going to be present or the mother is going to be present in the child's life, or is that going to be an absentee father or absentee mother? Because there are some single fathers out here as well, so we don't want to leave them out, that are raising their children without the mother involved. So traditionally it used to be absentee fathers in the home, but now it's also can be absentee mothers as well. So that has to be considered, the cohesiveness, the attitude of the mother or the father. Or do you both have bad attitudes? Let's be real, because sometimes the toxicity or the attitudes come from both individuals. And somewhere people have to step down, and come down to be able to come to some cohesiveness, to be able to, raise the child in the best way in a wholesome manner. And then there are the living arrangements. What type of living arrangements will be made? That is something that's very, very important. If you're co-parenting, then what type of living arrangements would the child have that when they go visit the mother or they go visit the father? Will there be, a visitation, or will there be shared or joint custody? And then the support system. Who can support? Is it going to be family, siblings, friends, and the community? So it's important to have a good support system in place, because I found out that when you have a good support system in place, it works out better for the child, because the child can have some stability in their life, who they're going to be able to spend time with. When the parents are away working, or they may be a parent that travels on business trips, or maybe they have to work late and they weren't able to get to the child's, after school activities, or even just an emergency in keeping the child. But what type of living arrangements will the child have to, endure or encounter? And so there must be a good support system in place, but also stability, because we don't want to see a child being shuffled around in unfamiliar faces and unfamiliar places. And so that's very important to know the type of support system that your child will be exposed to. And sometimes we have to change our friends and relationships in order to see how it impacts the child that we have chose to bring into, the world, into society, and to be around others. And then there could be a change in employment. When a woman usually chooses to have a child, whether it was planned or unplanned, and they choose to proceed with the pregnancy, there could be reduced income if the mother or the father, decides to stay home. Stay at home mother or stay at home father, or one of the parents goes from full-time to part-time employment. That's very important as well, And then it could be some complications that could arise from a pregnancy, which will cause the mother to be able to be out of work even longer if she had plans to return back to the workforce. And we know that there could be complications if there was a C-section done, cesarean section, or if there is some type of postpartum, symptoms, that have, the woman has, the new mother has encountered and is experiencing, then there could be some symptoms as well, or again, just complications taking longer to heal and things like that. There needs to also be a good support system in place, but also some understanding coming from the male partner or father of the child, depending on what the status of the relationship is, right? And then this also, what type of attitude does your employer have when it comes to family life relationships, sick leave, or flexible work schedule in place? Because there may need to be you may need to, besides your disability leave, pregnancy leave, PDL, or besides the FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, your partner may have to take FMLA as well to help take care of you and the baby. And that's, that's a federal mandate, that's the Family Medical Leave Act. But also, you may be able to go back to work once you've healed and you're ready to return to work. There could be, anxiety separation for the child, and you may want to do a flexible schedule. And if that is available through the employer, or they will allow you to do that, where you can work from home a few days a week, and then return back in the office. So there's a lot of different things to consider when you're going to have children. And once the child has, now the child is here, the baby is here, then there is, a lot of other extra things to consider, especially when you're going to return back to the workforce. And then one thing that I want to encourage parents on, please don't beat yourself up too bad. Now, I know I may just be preaching or talking to the choir, but it happens a lot where we as parents, especially new parents, tend to beat ourselves up, that we're less than perfect. We're not going to be good parents. I wish, that I could be better than what I was. And we may even experience some negativity, some negative thoughts, some intrusive thoughts after the fact. And especially as our children grow up, we may start to think, I wish I was a better parent. I wish I had did things differently. Well, you have to learn to forgive yourself for those things. But understand, parenting is not perfect. None of us was created perfect. We learn as we go. We can read all the books we want to read about parenting, and we can prepare. We can have baby showers and prepare and buy everything that we think we need. But as we raise children, it's always going to be some new things for us. Every day is a new day when raising children. Nothing is going to stay the same. Things do change. That comes with us as parents, and it comes with our children as they're starting to grow. They're going to change. They're going to do things differently. They're going to be different. We're going to be different. Nothing stays the same. So we have to grow with our children. And a lot of times children will raise us up and teach us and grow us up some as well. But we have to really understand that parenting is not perfect. So don't beat yourself up. And please, if you have raised a child and you're now on your second child and you've learned some things, because I'm sure you have, if you've raised one child and now you're on your second child, forgive yourself for the mistakes that you might have made when you were a new parent. Being able to have grace, God extends his grace to us. So we have to be able to have grace grace for ourselves, but also to forgive ourselves of any mistakes we made. And again, if we make mistakes, apologize. Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that, or I didn't mean to say that to you. I really do love you. We have to be able to have some grace. We have to be able to restore where we feel like maybe we broke someone's spirit, or hurt their feelings. We have to be able to get back in that right relationship. Just like we get back in the right relationship with Christ, we have to be able to get back in the right relationship with ourselves, with our partners, and even with our children when we've made some mistakes along the way. But again, understanding parenting is not perfect. And we have to set goals that we can reach, that are attainable. And so I've raised a child. He's a grown man now. He's 33 with his own family. But what I'm saying is, when you are setting goals, make sure those goals are attainable. They can be measured. What's the purpose of that goal? What is the outcome that you want to see? And make sure that's a goal that can be reached. Never set a goal so high for yourselves and for your children that you can never reach it. It is not attainable. And then, what is the purpose? Can it be measured? What can you benefit from setting goals in your relationships, in your parenting, skills, and with your children? And then don't stress over the little things. That's important. And I know that is difficult when we start to stress over the little things. We got to have humility about ourselves parenting, having humility, being in relationships, humbling ourselves, same thing with the Lord, humbling ourselves before we go to the Father. And the same thing with ourselves, with other people, being humble. And then to present, be able to be present, with our children, to present ourselves in a manner of having a good attitude, being kind, being, loyal, and being courteous, and being loving, with a nice, kind spirit when it comes down to, how we present ourselves to our child, to others, to our partner, as well as being able to laugh at ourselves when we make a silly mistake. Can we really laugh at ourselves? And most of the time when we do, it eases the tension of a mistake being made. And even the children sometimes can say, "Mommy, Daddy, look," and everyone, is okay with it and laughed about it and learn from that and move on, or say, "Boy, was that a big mistake?" But you don't have to show that in front of your children to the point where they feel some stress or some tension, or they feel shame and think it's them. We never want to blame. We never want to blame, blame our children or make them feel like they're the ones that's at fault, and if the children do make a mistake, let them know, reassure them, that we all make mistakes. And this is something that we can recover from. This is something that can be fixed. Don't ever make children feel like that it's the end of the world, and then we have to be able to relax. We're all on the go, microwave world. We got to get things done. But we want to make sure that we can relax. So it teaches our children to relax, having self-control, teaching our children self-control. Because remember, children look up to us, and we got to lead by example. So the examples we set is what the children more than likely will follow, because most children are a product of their environment, and they follow what they live and learn. So it's important to be able to show them that we have time for relaxation, we have time for fun, we have time for wholesome games. That not only does it teach us character, builds character, but it teaches us good sportsmanship. It teaches us how to be able to work with others, how to enjoy others, how to be part of a team. It's a lot of things that we can teach children if we get back to the basics. And again, having a very good attitude. We got to always have a good attitude. I mean, I know we're not going to all have great days, but when it comes to our children, we got to adjust those attitudes. We got to think about it. If it takes time for the child to come out of the school and you got to wait, you're going to go try to pick the child up. Maybe you got to, go in the school and meet them, or, if they're younger children. But if they're older children, you're waiting for them to come out of school. But if they're going to daycare or the babysitter or a child care provider, you may want to take some time if you're dealing with a bad attitude. Something happened and you're just so feeling bad or down or devastated or upset about it, or you're worrying about something on your job or something, you lost a big account. Always take some time to decrease. Count down, not up, because you want to come down. So count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Count down so you can come down from wherever you was at to calm yourself down before you interact with your child, whether it's going to pick up a baby, a newborn baby, or a baby under 12 months of age, and even children, toddlers. You're talking to your teenagers come out of the school. You don't want to put a bad attitude on your children. And we really need to get this, because there are parents that go through things and they take it out on their children. We don't ever want to see this, and we see it a lot. There are a lot of children that have suffered at the hands of their parents because no one were able to coach them or to help them along the way, give them vital information, or even to give them just some tools to help them along the way so that they don't harm their children and they can be the best they want to be and be a beacon of hope and light to their children, as we are to be a beacon of hope and light to others. And that's why, it's important to have, if you are a believer, to have reverential fear towards the Lord, so that you can understand what that means and how to treat other people. And that means your children that you are taking care of, that you are raising. But a good thing, like I said, is to have, one of the best things is to have a good attitude. How is your attitude when you are interacting with your children and even with your mate? How is your attitude? Are you a ratchet, rah-rah type of person? Or are you a person that tries to resolve issues and tries to be the best you can be in front of your children? And make sure, don't discuss things that children do not need to know about, and don't give them access to that information, because children are children, and they don't need to know about adult things, so make sure that your attitude aligns with your actions. And if your attitude is bad, unalign that attitude to make sure your actions don't harm your children. And if your attitude is good, then your actions should be good or will be good towards your children, whether it's a newborn all the way up, because it's important to be able to balance these things. And, and we understand that when we start to raise children, we really don't have a lot of time for ourselves. And that's why you hear a lot of people say it's a joy to raise children, but now that they are gone and they're grown, they're good. Now you can do your life and do you and live the life that you want to live after the fact. And then think about it. If you started late in life having children, then you've lived some of your life prior. And then some people, have, had children at a younger age. So they feel like they're not getting any time for themselves. And you can see the results of that, especially, children that were unplanned. So it's so important, to be able to, get some information or get some support or some help, and sometimes it's meaning getting support that's outside of your family, meaning some professional licensed support or counseling or therapy. And also checking out, I don't want to leave this out, checking out, because I mentioned the child care, making sure that you check out anyone, their background, like I said, check their background, their history, what type of person are they, the quality of the person, are they licensed, to provide child care? And if you take them to a child care home or facility, what type of facility, what does it look like? What type of, equipment, furniture, the whole 9 yards, what type of, resources, what type of, activities, structure, a lot of different things like that. What type of meals are they providing? How often will they have meals and snacks? You have to look at the cost, and things like that. And don't just go to one, look into it, maybe go to 3, 4 of them, and if they're not satisfactory, keep going, or, really compare what it is that you're looking for when it comes to childcare, because that's very important as well. And then there's also trends in parenthood and how it has changed. Because a lot of, like I said, a lot of women have decided, and even men these days have decided to delay, having children, or having children with, a woman. And so, and some are remaining child free. That's important too, because some men don't want to have children out of wedlock or being unmarried. And some of them even will tell you that they don't want, if you talk to some men, they don't want to date women that already have children. They want to be able to experience that with their wife, and a woman that hasn't had any children as well. And some women, men and women, won't date someone that's already been married, and maybe they're divorced now. It didn't work out. They want to experience the whole, new thing experience for themselves. And then there's the secondary education. As we talked about, individuals are obtaining a secondary education to have more options of financial stability and reduced stress. That reduced stress, because that, excuse me, if you are going to school and working, you're going to have more stress on you, and still trying to come home, raise children, provide for that family as well. And you may have to work late days, overtime. You may have been your day to pick up the children and you didn't get to it. And so now the other parent is getting a phone call because they're still at work or whatnot, or they're at a meeting or something that they didn't even know, and all of a sudden you got to stop what you're doing and try to go pick up the children. So some of it is, it can cause, some stress. And then there's the financial stability. A lot of people that are delaying delaying having children, want to put money away. They want to put savings away, 401k, 403b, employer plans, or health saving plans to cover medical costs. Because again, there is an expense in having children. And so if you can save up for that, then you can have money to take care of that. And then if there's an emergency that come up during the childbirth, that may be an extra expense, but at least you put away savings to either curb the cost or to take care of the cost, depending on how much you were able to put away before you chose to have children. And then you want stable housing. That's another thing. Now, everyone may not want to own a home. Some people may want to own a townhome or a condominium, but but you want to be able to have stable housing for your children. Now, some people want to purchase a home, or rent in a safe community, because you can still rent in a safe community with parks and good schools, community centers, good schools, community centers, a library. That's a good thing to have a library in the city that you live in, or the community that you live in. What about good, decent parks, that are safe? We have ample lighting, and even in communities, street lighting. Do you have good street lighting where you live at? Is it safe? Did you do your research? And then what about education? A good school system, as I stated, or even can you afford private school for your children? Or because with a better education comes usually better qualified teachers. We understand that because we hear a lot about the public school system and the teachers don't make a lot. But usually when you're able to send your children or a child to a private school, they usually get better qualified teachers. And then you got to look at single parenting. Are you going to be a sole provider, like through adoption, artificial insemination, in vitro fertilization, and a relationship that did not work out? So you got to look at all those things of being a single parent, and like I said, some people by choice choose to be single parents, because they wanted a child and they didn't want to have the responsibility of being in a relationship. They just, a partner, another adult relationship. They want it because you're going to have a relationship if you have a child. You're going to be in a relationship. When I say that, your relationship and how you interact and raise your child and teach your child, train your child up, those type of things. What type of relationship will you have with that child? So, but some people, and that's why I'm saying some people don't want to be in a relationship with, a partner. They just want to raise a child and develop a good relationship with their child, and we're talking about a wholesome relationship, not anything, that's not inappropriate. We're not talking about inappropriate relationships with children. So I just want to be very clear on that, but because when you're raising children, there is, you're going to have to build relationships with your children, wholesome relationships. And then there's the cohabitation. Are you going to cohabitate, or where you're going to be unmarried, raising a child, in a non-marital union, and then there's the co-parenting, working together again for the good of the child. And then there's the value of children perspective. And it's used to be historically an economic asset, right? But now children can be a greater burden and expense. It used to be where, having children was, an economic asset. Now, a lot of people look at children as a greater burden and an expense. It is expensive to raise children. I think it's important not to see children as a burden, because if you choose to have children unplanned, then that's a choice that you made. And if you don't want to see children as a burden, then don't have them if you're not prepared to raise children. Because there are parents out here that see their children as a burden. And we've seen over the past years a lot of children being harmed or being unalived, put in danger and at risk because parents perceive them as a burden, and they really weren't prepared. That's mentally and emotionally prepared to take care of the child that they chose to have, whether it was planned or unplanned, but you made that choice. And that's why it's important that if you are not ready for that, and your attitude is that children can be a burden, then don't have them. Plan for them. And so, because it is important, and we know that sometimes birth control, that I've been told by people, that it fails. Okay, so then if your birth control fails, then you have a choice. What are you going to do? When it comes to your attitude, how will you adjust your lifestyle to raise that child that was unplanned? And even with a planned pregnancy, there are adjustments. There are definitely adjustments with a planned pregnancy. But usually with an unplanned pregnancy, it can be more, stressful and difficult. I don't want to use the word burden. I don't want to see children considered a burden, because as women, we have a choice, and to take care of ourselves in a manner that will prevent unplanned pregnancies. And who you decide to get intimate with, who you choose, is very important as well. If you want a decent lifestyle, quality lifestyle with your children and the father of your children, you got to look into what type of person that you want to bear children with. Looking at the quality of the person, their background, their history, their potentials, overall, and so that's important, because once we choose to have children, whether it's planned or unplanned, we are responsible for those babies, for those lives that we choose to bring in the world. And so we want to be very conscious of the choices and decisions we make when it comes to that. And we know that no relationships are perfect. No parents are perfect. And we know that people do change. But when you start to see some changes, it's important to try to get help, try to work it out, but always keep children, in mind, and keep their best interest, in mind when it comes to parenting, whether you are a married couple, an unmarried couple, cohabitation, or co-parenting, to always keep children in mind and the best interest of your children. when it comes to your decisions that you will have to make once those children are here. And when you're carrying a child, you still got to take care of yourself and keep the unborn child, keep the best interest of the unborn child so that you can maintain and can have a healthy pregnancy. And so there are some, at this time when I did this research, it was single mothers were at 43.5% sleep less than 7 hours. And then mothers with partners were at 31.2% of sleep less than 7 hours. Women without children, 29.7% sleep less than 7 hours. Single fathers, 37.5% sleep less than 7 hours. Fathers with partners sleep 34.1% less than 7 hours. And then men without children sleep less than 7 hours at 32.3%. And again, this was when I did, this research and I wrote this paper and put this presentation together. It was adapted data from the CDC, right, in 2016. So I don't know what the current data is right now, but like I said, that was at that time. And so, but I want you to know that there are advantages of parenting in the 21st century because there is child support that's been really promoted a lot, advocated for. The system is set up for women or men to pay child support. If a man is raising children, he has a right to receive child support from the mother and vice versa, because it's not like it used to be. And we have to have that understanding that there are men that are raising their children and they have a right to get, to receive child support depending on the circumstances. And so you have community groups, you have libraries, you have community centers and resource centers, you have parent groups, you have programs out here now. There's a lot of things, self-help groups, couples that are married, and non-married couples, couples that are just co-parenting. So there's a lot of groups out here now and support groups that, can help along the way. Those are considered fall up under what I've named, and I'm sure there's other, but what I've named falls up under benefits, and so there are more resources such as neighborhood programs, support groups, and self-help, as well as parents can have the use of the internet, internet, in which they offer on the internet. There are sites that offer virtual advice support. Some of it is free. Some of people, also charge a fee. There's also books out there. Some books that really help a lot, and some are what we probably already know or heard. But parenting classes, that's available. Parenting advice and social activities that include both parents and children, which is a good thing. Again, building relationships, cohesiveness, building relationships, how, children and parents interact when it comes to team sports activities, things like that. Just building, unity among, family members. We have the sisterhood, brotherhood, but we have familyhood, and that's a good thing to build, familyhood with your family, and then there can be supervisor support and work flexibility, depending on your employer. Do you have the support of your leadership at your job, when it comes to work flexibility, like returning to the workplace after having a baby, because we know that is, a challenge within itself, and then maybe being able to work from home, and telecommuting and family school partnership. And we do see a lot of people able to, and they call it work remote. So you're working remotely. So that's a good thing as well, but again, depending on your leadership at work. And then having a private safety net, someone, or people that you can go to that are going to guard your privacy, that you don't have to be public about it, a social support. And that's like family, friends, allow children to be better adjusted. And that is, people you can truly trust, a privacy safety net. Where your children are not shuffled from one place to the other and they barely know the people houses that they're being placed in just because you're just trying to find any type of child care or someone to watch your child. And if you're going to hire a babysitter, make sure that that babysitter is someone that you can trust, that has a good track record. What is the quality of that person? That means a lot. Do they have a good attitude? Are they cheerful? Are they kind? Are they compassionate? Are they loving? Are they a team player? Are they honest? What about their moral compass, the moral, morality about them? Have you seen them interact with other people and other children, and how have they been? Do they show favoritism? Are they just mean spirited? Because we do have some children that are mean spirited. So you really want to look into that as well. And then what are the challenges to parenting in the 21st century? Well, according to the stress model of parental effectiveness, parents can feel overwhelmed by their job or educational demands, financial difficulties, and a lot of people tend to face financial difficulties at one time or another. Neighborhood safety, income restraints. I can't do this or that because I'm on a limited budget and all of my money is accounted for to run the household and pay the rent and the car payment and the car insurance, and we still got to buy food. So there could be some income restraints. And then there's the child care expenses, which can be way over $1,000 a month, depending on how many children and who's in child care. It can get very, very expensive. I mean, when I had my son, Ken and I can say that, it was really cheap. What, $75 a week for good child care and things like that? Now, no way, no way, no way, no way. And then you have the inflexible work schedule where you don't have a Monday through Friday or, job. You could be working, have 2 Mondays and Tuesdays off if you are a nurse or a doctor, or, ED, a nurse or doctor, or a technician, medical, or even customer service, retail, depending on what it is, or truck driver, and I know that's just some of the, professions or careers I've named, but it could be where you could have one day you work 10 to 7 and another day you work 8 to 5. That's not having a flexible schedule. That's inflexible. Now, if you have a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 7 to 3:30 or 6 to 3:30 or 5 to 2:30 or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And you don't work weekends, great. Because most county jobs, if you have county and federal, they don't work weekends unless it's something that is mandated for something or calls or something. But most of the time, no. Or the courts, you may be able to advocate and find you a really decent job. You may have to take something for the time being to make ends meet and provide, but then you may find something better. Or you may be going to school right now or at that time, and so you still are, you're trying to get through school so you can find a better job, and then there's the long work hours. Some people really work long work hours, like clinicians at times, nurses, doctors working in hospitals. They usually have a 12-hour shifts with 3 on, 3 12-hour shifts, and then they're off the other 4 days or something like that. Things like that. You may be a traveling nurse, or a doctor, but it's just a lot of, different situations that come up. And then single parenting without a good support system. You don't have family or siblings or friends or community support. That can be stressful. That could cause you to miss a lot of work if you don't have a good support system in place. And then you could have limited community resources where you live at. Maybe you are living in a community that doesn't have a lot of resources. The library is way far away, so you're not able to get there to look up things. And what if your child needs help and you have to go so far and just to try to get a book or something like that at the library, or different things like that. But again, limited community resources, you don't have support in your community, things like that. And furthermore, it can be daunting and socially challenging when one of the parents is an absentee parent. That can be socially challenging and even daunting, scary pretty much. You could be stressed out over that, and you could be, it can trouble your spirit, and even sometimes it becomes so bad that you might have to seek some type of, therapy or counseling to try to be able to manage being a single parent. And then there's the employed mothers. Their single parenting roles definitely can be overwhelming. They can be stressful, challenging, when parents, as well as when each role of the parents' knowledge differs in the development of children, and then the efficacy and emotional resilience. And that's important. And that's why it's important to marry someone, or, if you're going to have children with someone, to bear children with someone, make sure that you're equally yoked. Make sure you're equally yoked, and that spiritual wise, do you believe in the same, principles, biblical principles, Christian principles, or whatever your spirituality is? Do you believe in the same thing? Do you both of you have a secondary education? Because if one doesn't and one does, there's going to be a different educational dynamic, and that can cause a problem as well, in the relationship, on how you parent and interact and communicate with one another, as well as how you communicate and come together on how to raise the child. And then employed mothers still bear the majority of the responsibility, domestic labor, and childcare. And that's really true in most cases. And really, a woman usually will fall into, their, their role, into that role, and fall into it to, nurture the child, feed the child, bathe the child, take care of the child and changing diapers if they're still in diapers, things like that, getting them ready for school, what they're going to wear, that kind of thing, also cleaning the home, doing the laundry, preparing meals, lunches, food, breakfast, that kind of thing. And so we understand that. And most parents, most women as a parent don't have a problem with that. But we also need the support if you are a male, that has children with your wife, or co-parenting or cohabitation, understand that women do need support from you in whatever way you can. Maybe you have come to the decision that the mother will work in the home and you as the father will work outside the home. Like, when it comes to domestic chores, okay, if you live in a house, excuse me, the grass has to be cut, it has to be mowed, and things like that, and edged, car washing, and vacuuming. There are things that, and things need to be repaired in the house, so there are things that men can do. But we know that women have become carpenters as well, to fix certain things in the house and put things together, maybe shelving, extra storage units or spaces, painting, to make things better and wholesome for your home, to be cozy, and to be able to come to a safe haven and feel comfortable and safe in the home that you are residing in. So, it definitely, can be a challenge, and then the spending more time completing homework than leisure activities. So now, as the children grow, they're going to have homework, and the older they get, the more homework that they will get, and the more detailed that homework will require. And so, now your leisure time of what you used to do, you're not able, you got to give up some of that to be able to sit down and work with your children with their homework. If they don't understand, make sure it's done correctly, and go over it with them so that they have a good understanding. So when they go to class, they're prepared to answer questions, they can get good grades in school. That's so important. If you a person has been on social media, now you need to get off social media to tend to your babies or your baby, and some people say, I don't need to do that. But if your children are suffering, you do need to do that. With love, I'm saying it, and with respect, you would need to do that, to limit your time on social media and the internet. And juggling work and family demands make less time to spend with your children as well. So when any chance you get quality time with your children is important to spend with them. They should be your priority. You know what I'm saying? And then if you're required to work outside the home again to make ends meet, juggling childcare, sole provider, nurturer, bearing the brunt of burdens, that is difficult. That is difficult. And also employed mothers with an infant have difficult work hours and little opportunity for advancement when, they had a child prior to, getting a secondary education. And some people choose not to go to college. Hey, what can you say? But remember that the choices you make, that can affect your livelihood on down the road. It can. Those choices you make, good or bad, can be a factor. If you have a baby, unplanned pregnancy, and even a planned pregnancy can still factor in if you're not prepared. So that's why the planned pregnancy, it's a good thing to plan a pregnancy if you're able to, and not saying it'll be perfect, even if it's planned, but it will be more than likely a lot better than an unplanned pregnancy. And then parenting can be complex when parents do not have the capabilities to understand the developmental stages to promote a healthy development. And that's very important. And that's why it's important to get an understanding, to learn, to read books about developmental stages, to have that good support system. To, your parents raise children. If they're there to help you, they can help you along the way as well, how to take care of them when they're sick, when they're colic, and they keep crying, or maybe they have an upset stomach and need to burp, things like that, and that's just, diaper rashes, make sure that they're dry, they're clean. Don't ever change a diaper and never clean them down. Make sure they're clean, make sure they don't have on a diaper that hasn't been changed, and for a soiled diaper, make sure their faces are clean, their little hands, they're not putting things in their mouth, to cause them to have an illness or cold sores. Make sure, that your children are well taken care of, and nurture your children. And then, furthermore, there are many points of view and conflicting values on parenting children, and we understand that. But this is just really some information that can hopefully help someone along the way. And then there could be relationship problems that undermine effective and supportive co-parenting between the couple. We understand that. That's why it's so important to work together for the good of the child, because we know that there could be some ineffectiveness, and non-support, between two parents. And so it's important to come together in a mature manner to be able to help raise the child and co-parent a child to the best of, your ability, but for the good of the child, for the child, because the good of the child, that's so important. And then there's the conceptual model of pathways from couple relationship quality to children's externalizing problems when couples experience tensions in the relationship. And children, again, can experience the tension that parents have, or the two parents that are co-parenting, or the married couple, however, they can experience that, and they can start to act out, and externalize the problems that the parents are having. It can affect the children to where they're acting out in school. They start bullying others. They're mean. They're saying hateful words. They may even display some type of racism, because we know racism is taught. So they could be acting out to the point, and then when you sit down, you find out that they are experiencing what the parents have been externalizing, and they are seeing it. The yelling, the screaming in the household, or among the parents. When you go to pick the child up and exchange them, they're mad at each other. You weren't here on time. Where were you? Just a lot of things that the children don't need to see. No matter how you might want to go off and tell that other parent off, you want to hold your tongue. You want to bridle your tongue, because the tongue can be in the tongue is a matter of life and death. And you definitely want to bridle your tongue, around your children. If you need to go off somewhere, where your child is not there, or you need to talk about it away from your child, please practice self-control and control of the tongue to be able to do so, because you definitely don't want to have those type of behaviors in front of a child, because it can lead to compromised parent-child interactions. And you don't want to be talking about the other parent or each other in a negative way and to the child. The child doesn't deserve that, okay? And then you want, the child doesn't deserve that. Now, I'm almost done, but there's a little more to, the information that I'm providing to you. Quality time with children. Research shows better outcomes for emotional stability, in parents and children due to family education. And then there's the parental involvement, right? Quality time is valuable when raising children. It is valuable. And do not isolate children or a child from the other parent. That is totally inappropriate unless that parent is into some legal ramifications. No child should be isolated from the other parent just because you may be angry or you don't like something or the relationship didn't work out and both of y'all are pointing fingers. And remember what I said about the finger, when it's pointed out, it gets stuck in a paralyzed position. Sometimes we got to look at ourselves. How can I do things better? How can I make it better for the other parent as well as for myself and for the child, our children, our child involved? So we have to look at that, So don't isolate your child or children from the other parent, whether you're co-parenting or single. And then don't speak negative, as I said, about the other parent. Don't do that. Have confidence in the father. Have confidence, but don't speak negative. Because it can be difficult. And I've heard parents say, I'm just so tired of my children being broken. And they become angry. They become bitter, and there's some animosity and wanting to get revenge. And that doesn't do anything to help the child. Sometimes it means let's go to parenting counseling. Let's go to get some counseling so we can help. We can do better. What can we do together? How can we stop pointing fingers and blaming one another? And then spending leisure and quality time with children, as I said, earlier, being able to spend time, games, run in the park, take a walk in the park, go pick the flowers, and different things like that, go fishing. If you're around, a lake or something where you can go fishing, it's just different things. You take a drive on a Sunday after church if you go to worship on Sunday or Saturday, but take a drive on a Sunday, maybe get an ice cream cone or a sundae. But there are things that can be done to spend quality time. Some things doesn't even cost money. To go for a walk in your community or go to the park, the local park, go to the library. That doesn't really cost money. Maybe gas to get there, or either take a bus ride or a train ride. Now that may cost some fare, bus fare or train ride fare. But there are things that you can do that don't cost a lot of money. Go pick up some seashells at the beach or some rocks and look at different types of rocks, different things like that. But researchers emphasize concerted cultivation of parents having less stress, more confidence in parenting skills, children's talents, and overall development, and then, you want to use encouraging words, to your children. Now, Miller, he suggests, according to this model, parents often spend more time on park outings like rides, walks, positive, encouraging words, extracurricular activities. Read to them. That is so important, to read to them. That's spending time with them. Whether you have an afternoon story, if you're a stay-at-home parent or you work nights or something, and at bedtime. Most children love bedtime stories, wholesome bedtime stories that teach children things. A lot of people had something to say at one point during, I think, the pandemic about Dr. Seuss. But one thing I could say about Dr. Seuss, his books really helped a lot. The bedtime stories, reading, they were such good stories, but people came out and said some negative things. I don't have nothing I'm going to say negative, but I know that those books, a lot of children learn to read off of Dr. Seuss books. And you can also get books on your own culture and history, like I've done with my son when he was a child. As a matter of fact, a lot of his books, guess what I did? I still have some here, but a lot of his books I gave to them. And then I sent some to them, like some maps and different things of the big children book maps were. And my older grandchild was so excited when he got that book. Is my daughter-in-law told me how excited he was, and he couldn't put it down. And my son was deployed at that time, but he couldn't put it down. So it's good to be able to read to them and express more praise, like outstanding. Hey, outstanding, good job. You had a good day. Give a reward. Ready to learn. It's time to learn, and that means like the homework and things like that. And let us think about it. Let's take time to think on this. Or you got an award for the teacher's choice, and then parent contact. Parents making sure that they go to their children's schools. Don't miss parent-teacher conference. And if you have to miss it for some critical or emergency or work, reschedule. Get with the teacher, reschedule. Reschedule, but be there for your children. Be involved. Sometime what I used to do, and you can do this if you're able to take off, is to go up to the school, go in the office and say, hey, I just want to go to my son's or daughter's classroom. I just want to kind of peek in, see what's going on. Some of them allow you to do that. And some schools will allow you to sit in the classroom and just be quiet. I've done that too. Or you volunteer in the classroom. Take a day to volunteer in the classroom, maybe once a month, where you volunteer in the classroom, in your child's classroom, or volunteer at the school. Or you can get involved with the parent-teacher, PTA or whatnot. But there's a lot of things that parents can do. And then there's the family, community and social support. Just a moment. And then we're almost done. Okay, there we go. Be strong enough to stand alone, but smart enough to know when you need help and brave enough to ask for it. Okay, strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and then be brave enough to ask for help. Don't be too prideful, and don't be ashamed to ask for help. Because employed parents consistently express their desire for better work accommodations for family. So be able to be brave enough to ask for it in a respectful manner and be able to offer solutions and how this can be accomplished. Remember, goals. Make sure that they are attainable and make sure they're measurable. And what is the purpose? What is the outcome? And how will it help? And how would this benefit your employer? Because a lot of times employers are about looking at the overall, bottom line. So how can your flexible schedule benefit the employer? And will it make a positive impact, negative impact? Will it improve or will it decline? So you got to look at those things. And then attending religious service and teaching children compassion, tolerance, and acceptance. That is so important. Training up a child in the way they should go. And if you believe in the Christian beliefs and values and the biblical concepts and the Bible, then guess what? Train up a child in the way they should go. They'll never depart. And then Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7. And that's a very good verse to go and read. It's so important. And I will always advocate for that, when it comes to children. And then spending time in prayer. Showing your children, teaching them how to pray. Let them be able to understand prayer in their, how they understand it as a child, but teaching them, short prayers. As they get older, they'll learn to pray longer. But spending time in prayer, being an example and a good role model and leader for your children. Don't curse your children out and then pray. That is very inappropriate. That your prayers will not get through. That is not the way to do it. And teach them about, forgiveness and asking the Lord to forgive them of their sins of omissions and commissions. That is all included in a prayer. If you teach at a young age, you start at a young age, and teaching children how to pray the right way. And enjoying mealtime together also benefits the family. Sitting down at the table together and having a meal. And sometimes children, if they're old enough to, can help prepare a meal. They can help clean up the kitchen, but they can help do certain things that don't put them at risk, and talking about how their day at school went, and allowing each one to express themselves in a responsible, respectful manner, and no one talks over the other. And don't be a tattletale at the table. So and so did this. Don't, we don't, you know what I'm saying? It will be addressed, but it shouldn't be done tattletelling at the meal table. That could cause animosity. And then you don't want a child running from the table upset in tears, because that is, a meal time that's supposed to benefit everyone. So that's important. And then there's personal resources and able to express themselves in parent knowledge, education, experience with children. And then attitudes towards child rearing, history of relationships, including how they were parented as children, thus asking for help when needed and not feeling ashamed. Because we know that how we were raised, we tend to take some of those things over into our relationships when we have children, in our parenting skills and ways. And some things may not have worked right, and we see the error of our ways. And if you have a good relationship with your parents and they're still living, then you can sit down and talk to them. Some things we know our parents weren't perfect in and didn't always do right. But guess what? We can learn from that. We don't have to hold grudges and animosity. We have to forgive what happened in the past. Don't regret the past. Move forward. Add value to your life, and aim, to live, the best life you can with your children, and aim to do differently if it was things that weren't right and they turned out not to be right, and you've healed from it, to be able to do different. But don't hold it to so much that you don't hold your children accountable. We must hold children accountable at the level that, they understand. So we want to be able to be the best parents that we can be, right? And so with that being said, our conclusion is there is no such thing as a perfect parent. So just be a real one. And that's Sue Atkins. And so, it takes a village, to praise a child. It takes a village to not praise a child, but to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a child. It's okay to praise a child, and if a village is praising a child, then hey, that's real good. That's even more of a good support, right, for the community. But it takes a village to raise a child, and it's okay for a village to praise a child in the right way. Okay, and so the quality time ethos of childbearing suggests that it is the quality of parent-child interactions as opposed to the quantity of such interactions. You may have a quantity, an abundance of interactions with your child, but out of that quantity, what's the quality? What is the quality of those interactions? Building good relationships, okay? And then it takes love, it takes patience, it takes support, community, resources with parenting skills levels to raise children in an effective manner. And then the Bible says, raise up a child in the way they should go, and they will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. And you must be asking at the end here, why do I use biblical concepts and some scriptures? Because I attended Baptist college for my secondary education, and I believe in the biblical concepts. And so, but even if you are not a believer, in the Bible, Christian values, I still think that there's a lot of information in this presentation that I have provided to you that can still help you reach your goals as a parent and with your children, as parents and with your children or your child that you are raising, whether it's single parenting, co-parenting, cohabitation, or married parents. Okay, and so there are some references here Estes, how are family responsive workplace arrangements, family friendly, employer accommodations, parenting and children's social emotional well-being, the psychological quarter. And Estes is 2004. And then Lamanna, M.A. Riedmann, and Stewart, 2021, Marriages, Families, and Relationships, Making Choices in a Diverse Society. And then that's the 14th edition. And then Parks, Green and Mitchell, 2019, Co-Parenting and Parenting Pathways from the Couple Relationship to Children's Behavior Problems, Journal of Family Psychology. And then you have Sanders and Turner, 2018, Handbook of Parenting and Child Development Across the Lifespan. And so you definitely, want to be the best parent that you can be. And with that being said, God bless each and every one of you. And I do hope that this video will help someone along the way, but also share the video with your friends and families. Share it with people that you may know that's struggling or even considering having children, or they have a newborn. Be able to help one another. So God bless each and every one of you. Bye.